We are recording, gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rare Book Cafe. We want to welcome everybody watching this program on replay, and thank you for joining us. I just lost my sound. Hold on. We want to thank everybody watching this program on replay, and thank you for joining us. I'm Steve the Bookman Eisenstein, and this is the Rare Book Cafe, the first and only Blab TV show in the entire world to be talking about antiquarian books. And again, thank you for joining us on Blab.im. My regular guests today are my good friend Thorne Donnelley from Liberty Books in West Palm Beach, Florida. Allan Smith, as always. And anybody that wants to join us, we'd be happy to hear from you. Later in the program, we'll have Edie's Miniature Book Corner, starring my beautiful and blushing bride of 27 years plus a few months, talking about miniature books. Also, our Hidden Treasures feature. If you love unusual books, you don't want to miss this. Later, we'll also have a new feature called The Third Degree, but depends on who joins us for that one today. We've third degreed each other for quite a while. And stick around for the burning question and the big idea. As always, through the miracle of modern technology, visitors to our live show can send text comments. So click away. We'll be watching for your texts. Also, later in the program, if you have questions about antiquarian books, we'd be happy to answer them. If you have a question, type a slash and the letter Q and a space. Let us know what you want to know, as in typing in a question. It makes it easier for us to see your question. Can everyone see the little blue bar on the side of your screen where it says click on it and tell a little bird we're on the air? Well, we'd like everybody to do that now so we can let everybody know that you know and that we know. And I think the word is exponential. We want an exponential following on this program because we want to answer a lot of questions. The pair of hands that you see in each corner of the picture, Blab calls those props. They used to call them fields, but fortunately they changed the name. Props are basically an applaud. If you click on the hands, it shows support for the person that's speaking. The points don't mean anything yet. We haven't figured out a pool for those yet. That's why they don't mean anything. But they do go away at the end of the program. And if you like what you're hearing, give the speaker props. It's a good way for us to know that you like what you're hearing and you're enjoying it. If you're new to the program and want to be alerted about other episodes of the Rare Book Cafe, be sure to follow us on Blab or on Twitter. And finally, this program is being recorded, so you or your friends can watch the replay on Blab or on the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair blog at floridabookfair.blogspot.com. That's floridabookfair.blogspot.com. And you will be able to
Bookfair.blogspot.com, right?
Yes, floridabookfair.blogspot.com. Say that 4 times fast backwards. And welcome to the show. The first segment we do is something called Hidden Treasures. And I got a real surprise for everybody today. But Thorne, you can go first, okay? I always like to see what walks in the stores. Old-fashioned bookstores are a place where you can find hidden treasures around every turn, around every shelf. Felix Owen, watch one of our past episodes, and you will see what we talk about around every corner and every nook and cranny. So we're going to bring you some of the thrill of discovery to the Book Fair Cafe. We've asked our guests to show some of their treasures in their collection. Thorne, as Julius Caesar used to say before they burnt down Rome, the wreath is yours, sir.
All righty. Well, I actually I'm hoping to have something for next week. I'll tell you about it. A lady at the end of the show, she couldn't come in before the show, so she's coming at 3:30, is bringing me a book she has described as Illustrations of the Civil War. Now, I have looked at that title, I've looked at WorldCat, which pretty much is, we all know. Those who don't know, WorldCat is an organization's world catalog. It documents much of the library holdings in the world. I have other resources available, but that's a quick and dirty one. And I'm not showing that title anywhere. But she did tell my manager that this thing had been printed. It only had, she called the Library of Congress, and they were able to tell her that it had an initial press run of 1,500 copies. Frankly, 1,500 copies in the Civil War, I'm not sure it's a small run. Tamaran or something like that, I believe, had 100. You know, so to somebody today used to 10,000 copies, but anybody in the private book era, even today, 100 books or 200 books gets my excitement. 1,500, I'm a little shaky on, but then again, we don't know what it is. So hopefully, I'll have an update on that next week.
Let me hear this. You had a limited edition Civil War book printed during the Civil War that stated it was a limited edition of 1,000 copies.
No, I'm saying I haven't seen it till 3:30.
Gotcha. I get it, but that's the gist of it.
Yes. So
if you don't find it, let me know. Somewhere back there is Broadfoot's. We'd be happy to look that one up. For those of you who are new, there are all kinds of reference books. Broadfoot's is one of the older Civil War reference books.
Okay. And oddly enough, it's funny, the next thing I was going to talk about was one of my reference books. But I brought something to show you. Remember, I've been cataloging this estate I bought of a lot of interesting books. I'm getting towards the end of it. We've gone from the astronauts to the presidents to, actually, I've got a couple of funny ones, like by Johnny Carson and Amos and Andy, of all people, signed by the two original white actors, Amos and Andy. It's kind of funny. But I got this one. I got this last night. I got it a week ago, but I worked on this last night. It's called The Great Movie Stars, okay? Now, this is the revised edition, nothing special. It's pretty much of a standard kind of a reference book of older movie stars, 30s, 40s, 50s. Nice little article on all of them, pictures. But the guy that I bought some of these books from, was a collector. He went to shows, he sent letters off, he bought books. He had multiple ways of achieving autographs. But this one in particular, it's a heavy book, so I'm going to show you on one side that, and the other side this. And that's not what I'm trying to show you because I can read them for you. This is to Ken. It's signed by Mickey Rooney, James Stewart, Barbara Steinbeck, and Ginger Rogers. Now, they're all roughly contemporaries, but I have Googled it, and unless somebody knows, I don't believe that Ginger Rogers, Barbara Steinbeck, Andy Rooney, and who was the other one? James Stewart. My favorite movie of all time was The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, with him and John Wayne and Lee Marvin, I think it was, with a song by Gene Pitney. There's my trivia for the day.
Town Without Pity.
No, Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, the song.
Oh, okay.
Not the theme song, and was redone by James Taylor. Okay, I happen to have both copies, but I just find it's funny. What I love when things walk through the door like this. To me, it's Christmas every day. What is the story about? Why did these authors they're all in here, and I assume that maybe they just signed at a different time. There's no great story. I've Googled. They were never in the same movie.
That's great.
What are you going to price that at, Thorne?
That one I haven't priced it out yet. None of these authors collectively are worth more than a couple hundred. Some of them, James Stewart might be a little more. Ginger Rogers, I've got a photograph of her I'll throw in. Actually, I think we sold that. The other ones, Barbara Stanwyck, it's probably a $200-300 book is my guess. I haven't priced it yet. It's some of them are much more. The ones that I'm most proud of are the ones I think I mentioned last week, with the Neil Armstrong, Collins, and who was the third guy? The same man.
Shire.
Walked in the moon.
Shire?
Oh no.
William Shire.
The second man who walked the moon was Neil Armstrong, the guy right behind him.
Aldrin.
Okay, having those.
Thank you, Henry Bemis.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah.
Having something like that to me is such an incredible piece of both American history, my personal history, because I was literally around when that happened. I happen to be one of the few people in the world that actually missed the landing on the moon, but that's a story I can't tell on air.
I saw an ICV.
That's very intriguing.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys. I will tell that story at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair, which is
all right.
Oh man, it's on the next page.
To everyone who visits your booth, right?
Yes, that's what I'm glad to. But
hey guys, we were briefly joined by Sean, who is the president of Blab, or CEO of Blab. He went away though. Maybe he's watching on the outer edges, but I don't know.
The outer limits.
Robb Versandi is here. Robb, jump in here.
I got you, Robb. Coming in.
Okay, good. I will back off.
Let me add one thing while we're waiting for Robb to stream in. When you get a book that's signed by a lot of famous people, it's really sometimes tricky to sell. I learned that the hard way from Herman Darvik, who was probably one of the premier autograph authenticators in the country. Many years ago, I had a book with all kinds of great signatures, Joey Brown, Admiral Halsey, and all that. And it was all in a book from a guy named Freddie Benham, The Fabulous Saints and Sinners. And it was signed by many, many people. This was probably the first Long Island book fair I did. Herman, I thought the book, in my novice approach to it, was worth $250 at the time. Herman said, no, I understand how you think and this and that, but the book's probably worth $35 to $50. He's the autograph expert. We walked back to my booth with two of my friends laughing at me, telling me, yeah, you thought this, you thought that. About 10 minutes later, somebody walked into the booth and bought the book for my price. You never know with those compendiums like that. Later, I'll show. Robb, you're having trouble catching the stream. You're still a circle. Thorne, anything else walking in? I got a great story.
Okay.
All right, but I'm waiting for Robb to stream in, and he's just in the circular mode.
He may be having some technical
streaming. Do they have Viagra for streaming difficulty?
I'm going to be back in just a minute.
We're here. This is a basic book, Alex Haley's Roots, and it's not even a first edition, and the dust jacket's in terrible condition. But it took me a day to go through the book to find out that I had a letter written on King David lounge stationery from Israel, Jerusalem.
Of course, I've been in that hotel.
And I quote the letter, and I really like it. To David and Lynn, warm wishes to you from the family of Kunta Kinte, signed Alex Haley. Here's Alex Haley referring to Kunta Kinte in a letter. I'll have to do homework to find out what it's worth, but I'm willing to do the research. It should be interesting.
The funny part, I have to interrupt you, Steve. My first wife went to USC, okay? In her class was the kid who played Kunta Kinte on TV the show.
Thorne, you got a lot of echo. I'm sorry. Lower your volume a little.
Okay. It's about as low as it's going to go. It's the problem. When my first wife went to the University of Southern California, one of her classmates was the kid who played Kunta Kinte on the TV show Roots. When it was broadcast, we went out occasionally, and it was amazing how many, I believe at the time, that was the most watched network show of all time or something like that. And the voice, the recognition for that kid was astronomical. He actually, I didn't know him very well, but it was interesting to see. And then I don't know what happened to him. I don't believe he went on to a movie career. I believe it was, I honestly don't know what happened. It was kind of fun to hang out with him for a while. Funny you happened to bring that book in.
It's fun, yeah. You never know the connections. Robb, I'm caught your stream. I hope you catch ours. Let me show you something else that hit the bookshelves this week. If you notice the three letters right over here, that's Job, J-O-B.
Thank you.
Hey, Rob, welcome aboard.
Hey, Steve. Thank you.
Give me a sound check. You sound great. No echo. This is illustrated by Job. It has fantastic color plate illustrations in it. And the beauty of it is that we got about 4 or 5 different titles like this. The same format, similar if not equal illustrators. So there's life in the salmon streams of book selling in Miami these days once again. Not quite what you got going in Palm Beach, but then again, I have not been the active hunter lately. Rob, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back, Stephen. Good to be back.
Good to see you here. Tell us what's walked through your doors in the last week. We're all kind of doing, what we've acquired recently.
Well, we've got, it's been quiet here in terms of acquisitions. Just a moment, please.
No problem. And when you come back, drop your volume down 2 notches.
Okay.
What I have found out is that what is happening to us, and I found this out this morning from Captain Hook, is we are echoing off our microphones.
Okay. How's that?
As it was explained. Perfect.
Try
it again.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Nothing has come in that is worth discussing. However, I wanted to show you a couple of things that I thought might be of interest, especially given the way we kind of went into art and toys in the last session, okay? I found a couple of things that would have some application. This is a fairly recent, I don't know if you can see that or not, a fairly recent edition of a collection of drawings of Mutton Jeff. This strip began in the late 20s, and it was created by Bud Fisher, and it was quite an amusing strip. The original premise of it was that it had to do with racing and betting on races, et cetera, et cetera. He created a pretty funny strip, and it didn't take long for the marketeers to get a hold of it, and they produced these two, which have been tough to locate and find in this kind of condition. Let me see if I can get these up so you can see them. This is Mutt and Jeff in 3-dimensional dolls, dressed in cloth clothing that match exactly what they wore in the strip. They're just wonderful pieces, done in the early 30s. Finding them with the original clothing and in this condition is very, very rare. I've been chasing these two for many years, and just as it happened, I got into an auction situation where they went for quite a bit less than what they're worth. So the correlation between early comic strip art and toys is very common, and it's almost like a launching pad for toys, as you know today with things like Star Wars and everything else. But in the early days, it was basically just comic characters, and those early strips were drawn beautifully, and the people who made the toys, if you watch the Antiques Roadshow from time to time, you'll see things like Cats and Jamma Kids or the Yellow Kid or something like that. And all those tin toys and composition figures were based on those early strips that they were just drawn beautifully.
That's very cool.
The correlation,
you had me so fascinated that I forgot to give you props.
The correlation between the toys and the collectibles, it is amazing. And when you look at some of these combinations that come up, I used to love to display a book with something like that. If I had the book, I'd display the Mutt and Jeff if I had them. And it looks beautiful with that. I mean, a Flash Gordon book with that ray gun, what a package you would have.
Exactly, exactly.
The tie-in is great in those things. What other things do you have that are sitting around? Never mind just acquired. You got a history wealth right there. A wealth of history.
This I've had for a while. As a matter of fact, this is going to be at the Antiquarian Book Fair. I don't know if you can see it clearly.
Mickey Mouse.
Turn it at an angle. Tilt it back. There, that's better.
This is a Mickey Mouse Waddle Book. And what made these very unique is that within the book, in the back, were actual figures that you could create by punching out the arms and the legs and putting it together. And then if you put the book on an incline, they would literally walk down the book, you know? So they called it a waddle book. There are two different versions that I'm aware of. There is a Mickey Mouse version and a Wizard of Oz version. The Mickey Mouse, I think, is just a tad rarer than the Wizard of Oz. I don't think they've reprinted the Wizard of Oz, but they have done this, and it's exactly like the original from the 30s. And it's a terrific book to have. As you can see, it's still sealed. I haven't opened it up. The waddle figures are in there. If I sell it at the book fair, whoever buys it is more than welcome to pop out the figures and have them waddle in their own home.
On one level, you want to do that, and on another level, you want to keep it just as it is.
Exactly right. Exactly. That's the
There's
dilemma for
somebody-
most collectors, you know, who manage to get something that's still sealed or still boxed. Many of the toys that I sell are in the original box, still sealed, and I haven't opened them up. And a lot of collectors prefer that. But of course, then they're faced with having to buy a box and not knowing what's inside. But, you know, the conditions of the box pretty much indicate that what's inside is as good as what the box looks like.
Nobody ever breaks that seal. It goes from one glass case to another.
That's
Basically, yeah.
That's exactly
At
right.
a slightly inflated price from one to the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very funny. Gentlemen, I am going to introduce my wife at this moment for Edie's Miniature Book Corner, and we will pick up again. I have got to take a break. It has been an extremely long morning for me. I usually don't bail out this quickly, but I got to get up and stretch my legs or I'm going to be in a lot of pain. Honey, I love you.
Right.
Tell us about miniature books. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Righty.
Okay,
Have
Steve.
a nice smoke.
Notice that Stephen doesn't stick around for this session. I think he's heard all of this.
Uh-huh.
Look at the door back there.
What?
We're watching
The door,
go out the door.
the door is beckoning, isn't it?
Oh, the door, yeah.
Hello, Edie.
Hello.
There you
Here
go.
I am.
Hi, Edie. Welcome.
How are you?
Good.
Good, good.
Listen, well, let me sit closer. Okay. For anybody that hasn't done it before, a real miniature book, in my opinion, you take a $1 bill or a $10 bill, whatever. You fold it in half, you fold it in half, you hold it in half. It's got to be that small. Here, I have a thimble.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The thimble is smaller than the miniature book.
Oh, my God.
On the thimble is a book.
Oh,
And the cover of the
Hold
book.
hold it up in front of the camera so we can see it.
good
Okay.
grief.
Okay.
Okay. The cover of the book says the Holy Bible.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
When
goodness.
you open it up, you've got the Lord's Prayer and you've got some other biblical sayings. When I buy something, I get it because I like it. Okay?
Hey,
And if people
Edie?
don't- what?
Edie, I want to interrupt just a minute. Jane, our friend Jane, who's been on, visited us before, says, I'm so proud that I already know this from a previous Blab, the where you folded the
The
dollar bill.
Okay.
She learned that from back when you did that before. So
Thank
we're
you.
happy to have you back, Jane. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
ahead,
you, Zane.
Edie, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Now, to get away from miniature books, but little books, Jan
Oh no!
Kikowski, okay, has done a whole series of little pop-up books.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Now, this type of book, or this type of book, which is a friendship book. The title is Friendship. And you open it up, there's a pristine dust jacket, there's something inside, and then in this book are also pop-ups.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh my!
really?
Now,
In the
they're
little
these are little books. These I do not consider miniature books. They're little books. But if
Little
you
books.
look something like this up online, it's going to be called a mini book.
Do
Okay?
you have to say it that way? Little book?
A little
You have-
book? I don't know.
You have to say it that right.
I do. What can I say?
You got to get you got to get the accent right. Little book.
Little book. Now, this Jan Pikowski did a whole series of books. And where would I find them? I would find them in a stationery store when you're waiting in line to check out. And they've got all these leader items, the same as they do in a grocery store, the same as they do in any other store.
They're
To
an
catch you
impulse buy.
That's
An
me.
impulse buy, right?
That's me. They put, these advertising things are done for me, and I like them. So I started to buy Jan's books. Stephen had said to me the other day, "I've got to get a handle on what my things are worth." Because quite honestly, I don't care. I have them because I love them. I buy them because I love them.
See,
And
that's
I want them. But I happen to look these two small books up online as I was sitting and waiting for my turn. And they sell anywhere from $20 up to $100, depending on condition and the year of publication, because I found out that some of these have now been reprinted. So that mine are all 34, 35 years old, and so mine are on the top end of the value. It doesn't mean that I want to sell them. It just means that thanks to my husband, I have gotten a handle on them. And I still love them, and I still like them, and I'm still going to keep them.
Edie, you are the perfect collector. You're the perfect collector because you just collect what you like, and you don't worry about the price, and you don't worry about whether it's sellable, resellable, or whatever.
Well,
You just
unfortunately,
get it
I
because
have
you like
to worry about the price because my pocketbook, and sometimes I see miniature books at the Florida Antiquarian book show that I would love to have, but the prices do not match my pocketbook for what I can spend for them, or am willing to spend for them, I should say. But I love to see them. These little books I had picked up, as I say, on the counter at a stationery store. For this one was $5, and this one was $6.95. And,
All right.
and I looked at it and I thought, oh, what a lovely gift to give a child. Well, there was no child that ever got them because the little child that I have inside of me kept them. But they have appreciated in value. If I knew how to buy books that were double, triple, or quadruple in value, then I would be rich. But to me, the thing is buy what you like.
Exactly.
And if you don't like it and you don't want to own it, pass. Because it's too hard to figure out what is going to be worth double, triple, quadruple, 10 times fold, whatever, 10 years down the road. I don't think anybody can really predict it.
And that's good advice whether you're collecting miniature books, little books, or if you're collecting any kind, but really any collectible, but any kind of book, definitely.
Oh, there was a book on elephant hunting in Africa that Stephen and I got at a library sale in Coral Gables. When we first started to date, and he said, oh, we'll have such a wonderful date. Let's go to a library sale. Little did I know, as you start, so shall you live. But I do love the hunt. And we had that book for quite a while. We bought it at a library sale for $2 or $3, and there was a drawing in it of Carl Fisher and so forth. It was sold. Stephen heard about that sale of that book every day. How could you have sold Rosie the elephant? So he traced it down and he brought it back.
That's great.
So we had it. And then a few years ago, we decided we've held on to it long enough, and we finally sold Rosie. I don't know where it is now.
In the University of Miami Beach collection.
Oh, it's in the University of Miami's book collection.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
wow. You can visit it at any time.
I could go and visit it, yes, I think. But, I mean, you know, a hunt is the fun. I've got to say that if I walk into a good shop...
We're getting echo.
We're getting echoes, Stephen. I'm going to give you back to Stephen. Thank you all very much.
I need to pull the volume down on somebody needs to pull volume down somewhere.
Wait, he'll do it. Here, turn your volume down.
I did, but how'd you turn it up?
I didn't touch it.
No problem.
How did I do it?
I don't know.
That's why I never touch your computer.
Stop.
Okay.
What are we going to do, Stephen, when
Hello?
Stephen, what are we going to do when Edie gets her own square and her own...
One day when we will have a few, I don't drink beer, so let's just say vodkas and whatever. We'll talk about that. Not now. Not now, guys. I got a lot of... But let me see what the echo is doing. It's not me. I'm down to... I'm at 24%. Usually we're at 32. 32 for me was an ideal number. Are we okay now?
No, still got some echo.
It can't be for me. I'm down very low.
Okay.
It's not you.
I'm going to give it. How am I doing?
You're echoing.
Okay, then I'll go down.
I'm saying what happens is sometimes the speaker catches the microphone catches your noise from the speakers sometimes.
How am I now?
Is that better?
Better?
Okay.
You know what? Here's another
Why doesn't
question.
everybody, if you've got a number, why doesn't everybody put their number down to about 40%?
I'm pretty low.
Okay.
I don't have a number.
You're
I
at,
have no number either.
am I clear? Am I clear now?
I can hear you pretty well, Stephen.
Okay. All right. Let's see what happens. Maybe the echo will pass. Where we were talking about miniature books, and now we are coming back to another segment of the show. The third degree we have done on it. We have done the third. Very bad on the echo. The third degree we have done before with you, Rob. So we won't put you through that again. It's a house rule. Let me echo.
Now your sound's off.
Yeah, you lost your sound, Stephen.
We're not hearing you.
Maybe that's a good thing. He doesn't know about the credit card that we told Edie to take from him.
Better he not find out. Hear you.
I wonder, Alan, do you know what kind of equipment Steve has?
Say that again.
Do you know what kind of equipment, microphone, computer, internet, what his internet can do?
What his is? No, I do not.
Still nothing coming through, Stephen.
Okay. Well, let me talk to Rob for a second. I understand you're an antiquarian children's book dealer. Is that correct? Is that your specialty?
So that might be a question to me.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of a mixed bag in the sense that I deal with a lot of illustrated children's books, but also art collections. A lot to do with, I would say, like 60 or 70% of what is my booth has to do with comic art and art that was used commercially. I have a few really good things, like I think I've got a couple of Wyeth books in the booth this year, and things of that nature. But traditionally, what I display are collections of science fiction illustrators, have a lot of Frazetta, who's very big in that, and a lot of comic art collections. I have one gentleman who comes to the booth virtually every year and buys whatever I have, either on Batman or Captain Marvel or something like that, you know. And I have an artist who stops by as well looking for things of that nature. Last year, I think I sold him some work by Alex Raymond. If you're into comic art, you know these names, you know they're sort of like some of the best in the business. Alex Raymond is just probably the best there ever was in terms of comic art. And there are not too many collections of his work out there. I think I have 2 of his, which will be in the booth this year.
Okay. Interesting. I go to the Rare Book School every year, and one year I took a course on illustration. It's a very technical course. Some of the things we did were examining chromo lithographs, regular lithographs, wood cuts, steel cuts, the whole 9 yards. I realize that is more apparent to the judging and the quality of rare and collectible books because there was more effort put into it. Is there a lot of quality difference that you as a dealer see and know about in comic books, or most of them are just a similar printing style? Do you get any of that, the technical printing quality of the books, the paper, the engraving, that kind of thing?
Sometimes. I don't know if this is directly an answer to your question, but I like to keep on my shelves the works of Rockwell Kent.
Okay.
Now, Rockwell Kent is a fantastic illustrator. I have a Moby Dick that he did, and I'm trying to think of some of the others. Someone similar. I'm sorry?
May I ask which edition of the Moby Dick it is?
I don't know. I have to go back and look. It's without a dust jacket.
Is it 3 volumes?
No. Okay. 1 volume.
The reason I am asking is Moby Dick with Rockwell Kent in 3 volumes was printed by my family business.
Oh, really?
It's 3 volumes. It comes in an aluminum dust case. In the family, we call it fish in a tin, for obvious reasons. At the same point, the edition you have was also printed by us, but it was released later. It's many of the same illustrations, but they took 3 volumes and compressed it to 1.
To 1.
But yours is actually lovely work, and I love his work. I have several other books that had nothing to do with me personally, but they were illustrated by him, and he's fantastic.
He's fantastic, yeah. The only reason I have this particular edition is because of his illustrations, you know. And as you get into this, you know, you realize that some really sensational illustrations. I mean, we all know about the Scribner's NCY books. I have a complete set of the most recent reprints that Scribner's did, maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago now. Frank Schoonover did some fantastic illustrations as well as jackets. As a matter of fact, he did a Burroughs jacket, which I think was Gods of Mars, which was done by Schoonover. And I have a Mutiny on the Bounty with a N.C. Wyeth jacket.
Wow!
And I never knew he had done a cover for Mutiny on the Bounty. So I mean, it's just.
Do you have that handy?
I can get it. Do you want me to get it?
Yeah, I think people would like to see that.
All right, let me get it. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, I think Allan and I will have a conversation because has Steve been able to say anything in the last 10 minutes?
No, he hasn't, and that's such so unusual for Steven.
I see him going up and grinning. It's like it's kind of like a cartoon show. We got Kath and Steve here doing this stuff, and I haven't had do you remember, wasn't there an old cartoon show where somebody would talk and the other guy would like totally ignore him? 3 Stooges, something like that? But, you know. It's sort of like that.
My mic is gone berserk, he says.
Yeah, he is. Didn't he have some difficulties last week with the radio show? Not with us. I think they were completely off.
There were some with the radio show, and he got those worked out. But then
they hear us.
He can hear us.
So we shouldn't talk about the credit card we told Edie to get out of his wallet?
Yeah, we should just not mention anything about the credit card that Edie got out of his wallet. So Mike or Stephen, what did you do you changed something on that little mic that's on your card there? It hasn't come back. Okay, here's Rob. Rob's coming back here. Oh, look at that illustration. Isn't that's classic? That is just amazing, isn't it?
Oh my God.
I never knew he actually had done a Beauty and the Bounty cover, and then somebody tipped me off to this. And
turn it at a slight angle so that we don't get there. Good, that's nice. So we don't get so much reflection. That's very nice. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
It's fantastic. I don't know if you folks have been up to the, I hope it's still there. There was a museum up in, trying to think of the area of Pennsylvania, given over to the illustrators of these books, and about, I'd say, maybe a dozen NCY originals are on display there.
Oh, yeah.
And they are enormous. I mean,
Rob, we have two, a question and a comment. We've got from Stephen. We have is the top edge gilt? That was his question on that book. And then Pizza Slice has joined us, and Pizza Slice says, "I have a large collection from the 1750s.
Wow!
How can I look up the value?" He wants to know.
Well, I don't know about that. This is not gilt. It doesn't have gilt on the edges. There is. You can see if this. See if I can put this up there so there's no reflection. Let's see, how does that work? There is a wonderful interior illustration of the bounty, and then of course there's a line indicating that it's illustrated by N.C. Wyatt. I don't know how prevalent this edition is. This is the only time I've ever seen it, and I bought it on the spot.
Oh, that's very cool. Pizza Slice says he has that book as well. Finds it a great read. Pizza Slice, Stephen has put in a phone number. You can call him and give him some more information. His mic's dead, so he's not able to talk to us. But give him a call, and he'll be able to help book him, Steve.
Oh, book him, Steve.
He'll be able to help you with some more information about the collection. He'll be able to help you.
I had the good fortune of being on a cruise to Pitcairn Island some years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I met Fletcher Christian, the 7th or 8th. I don't know exactly where he is, but he was kind enough to sit and chat with me a little bit about the events, and he signed a frontispiece for me. And I'm sort of a big Bounty fan. As a matter of fact, I was going to take a cruise on the replica until it sank off North Carolina. But I just love reading about it.
That's
well, since now that Steve has completely lost his fear, I guess
Henry Bemis comments, will this become the world's first rare book mime show?
I have a question, Thorne, for Rob again. I'm on my way next week to the Grolier Club in New York, where they have a seminar, and I'm a member of both the club and the Rare Book School. I'm going up there.
Great.
I'm sure you remember they have a lot of books. There's a book they put out, Grolier, 100 books famous in children's literature. They had an exhibit of this. I believe it was last year, right before their Alice in Wonderland book. Are you familiar with the Grolier Club list of the 100 famous children's books?
No, I am not. I know of the Grolier folks, but I'm not familiar with that list.
All right. They've had 4 lists. It was 19th century literature. There was something else. This is the one that they just recently came out with. But if you haven't, not a big deal. Right now, they have an exhibit, as is everybody and their mother, the Morgan and Library of Congress, of Alice's Wonderland's 150th birthday.
Wow.
do you have you run into anything from Dear Alice original? You know, anything? I realize you're a little less literature and more comic books, which I think is totally cool. It's not my field, but have you noticed anything for Alice this year?
I haven't seen anything as yet, but these things sort of sneak up on you, you know. I was given an advanced look at some illustrations for an edition I'm not even sure even came out, and I'm trying to think of who the artist was, but it looks like virtually everybody has done an Alice book.
Yeah,
Heath Robinson has done one. Of course, there's Tenniel's original illustrations, which I think are the best. I'm trying to think of who else. God, Dolly did one, didn't he? Didn't Dolly do an illustrated Alice one year?
I sold it, yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's like, I knew someone who collected Alice books, and she had probably in the neighborhood of about 50 different editions, each illustrated by a different illustrator. But local, new stuff, I should say, I haven't seen anything in a few years, although you would think on the 150th anniversary they'd be bringing out tons of stuff, you know.
The other thing for me, I'm trying to replace Steve here a little bit. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but I was asked to replace him when all of this. I'm an antiquarian dealer by love and profession and all of that, but I also I have a physical bookstore in West Palm Beach, which the front end is a new bookstore. We do children's books, new children's books, Florida history. One of my employees is very much into young adult graphic novels, the Japanese stuff. You would know much more than I know about that. Is that anything you deal with? Because some of them are going back to Superman and something. So these are some older, really valuable stuff that probably trends into you. Then I obviously stock things that quite simply I can get from a publisher.
Right.
There's new, too much of older that stuff.
I don't get involved with anime at all, which is the Japanese character stuff, you know. It's been around for probably about 20 plus years, but I had no interest in it. It never really, I found it not attractive, and it doesn't seem to resonate with my clients either. I would say American illustrators from, 1906 through 1952 those are the years in which a lot of wonderful work was done, and in regards to antique toys, a lot of the stuff that I have in my own collection and that people ask me about are from that period, reflective of those illustrators, those characters, and those particular subjects, you know. A lot of interest in space stuff, especially as I had shown on the last session, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Captain Video, Captain Scarlet. I mean, all of that stuff has a lot of value now. I bid just recently on a Tom Corbett Space Cadet set by the Marx folks, and boy, the bidding left me in the dust. I was up, I don't know, in the neighborhood of maybe $500 or $600, and it went way beyond that. So there are folks out there who just adore this stuff as I do, and obviously have deeper pockets, you know?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm trying to think right now. I'm a little spacey because I've cataloged almost 200 books in the last week. I bought this fairly large estate. One of my books has multiple signers, but one of the signers, and it's not the main person, was known as the man who found the ability to print and make the presses of comic books in the 30s. And I'm wondering, if I remember it, I'd be happy to, not that I'm trying to sell anything, if I remember during the show, I'm going to go get it. I just can't remember which one it was, so I can't go get it.
Sure, I'd be interested in finding that out, yeah.
Yeah, but apparently he was a connection to one of the other signatories. I think it wasn't really a comic book, but I remember thinking, oh, isn't that interesting? He invented apparently the technical method of folding not obviously we all know how to fold a book.
Right.
There was something in comic books that was quite famous.
If you or any of the listeners or watchers are interested, there is a house in Texas, an auction house called Heritage Auctions.
No.
And I think almost monthly, if I'm not mistaken, they have auctions of this kind of material, including a lot of original artwork, which is not inexpensive, but it's wonderful to see and it's wonderful to have if you can afford it.
Yeah, I have bought stuff on Heritage. I haven't sold anything, but I do follow it, and I find it. I have personal issues with the prices on eBay and the descriptions on eBay and some of the dealers on eBay. I find auction houses, your famous ones, your Sotheby's, your Christie's, whatever, are great. There's another one in New York I like. I can't remember who they are right now. But I found that Heritage, having as many auctions as they do, as you're very right, that they come out every month or 2 months. It's a really good indicator of current prices. You know, what's something worth? It's what somebody's going to pay for it. And obviously,
exactly right. There's
a problem when you have. I've heard it happen a couple of times when you have two collectors, and something really like it happened with Edgar Allan Poe. There's a lady that put on she apparently is the most famous now, has the complete Poe set, and she was bidding against some other person. And when the two of them were building their collections back about 30, 40 years ago, a lot of prices for Poe started to spike because you had two people going at it. And once they both had their collections, the prices leveled out a little while. The only two buyers out of the game. Hello.
As soon as there's some demand, right?
Yeah, but I think Heritage, I follow even things I don't know anything about. There was a furniture auction. I have no interest in furniture. I couldn't tell you what color the chair is I'm sitting at. Well, it's black, but I found that it's just interesting to see what just generally antique prices up, down, sideways. I find that Heritage has a nice, I have an account there so I can go in and get that. And I just find that a very interesting thing because it's quite current. It's what somebody wanted to pay for something last Tuesday. And if you see that price occurring, or like you said, you saw something, I just bought something, well, two things, one from Australia that I thought due to the currency devaluation, it's come back a bit. And what it was in Australia was, in my judgment, probably half of what I thought it would go for in America. And I was familiar with that from, like you said, you see an auction, the guy, obviously we all want to buy the Gone with the first edition of Gone with the Wind for $10 at a flea market, but it probably is not going to happen.
Right.
I'm not telling anybody because I'm leaving town. But, so it's interesting to watch the auction. Are there a lot of your stuff, cartoon auctions about?
I can sometimes find a bargain, if you will. That's the wrong term, but I would say I can get something in an auction that I think is underpriced because either the information isn't out there, or sometimes the auction is held at an inappropriate time for a lot of people to get involved. I bid on a couple of things like on a Thursday or on a Tuesday, and everybody's at work or everybody doesn't care or whatever, and occasionally you can go in there and you can get yourself something at a reasonable price or below market value. A funny story, some years ago I was at Christie's East, which is a wonderful sort of pop culture place, but anyway, I was in there for a comic auction, and it was tin toys and a lot of other things that I was interested in. And I walked in, I was late getting there. I walked in and they were up to lot number 3, which happened to be a Little Abner Marx wind-up band. Now, I don't know if you've seen the toy, but it's a piano at which Mammy Yoakum's she is sitting on she's playing the drum on top of the piano. Abner is dancing. Oh, there you go.
You got it there.
So anyway, I walked in, and that was the lot that was up, lot 3, and I sat down with my paddle, and the guy was in the final countdown on a piece, and it was only $300. He going once, twice, so I immediately stuck my paddle up, and I got it for $3.25, whatever it was, and I couldn't believe it because it's like a $600-700 toy if you get it complete and working. That's great. That's the Amos and Andy Walker's Tin
Walker toys. Yeah.
Impossible to find, by the way. But so I got the band, and it works beautifully. It's still in my showcase. And then going out of the building after the auction was over, I just happened to look in below, on the first level where the really shishi stuff is being auctioned. And they had a sideboard, a French sideboard up. And the opening bid was $625,000. So I said, whoops, obviously I'm in the wrong place. Exactly right.
You didn't wave a little paddle?
I mean, can you imagine starting at $625,000 for a piece of furniture?
I have an issue that I guess my old college days are coming back to me. But to me, that's used furniture, dude.
We could have used you at that auction. Dude, it's used. That's funny.
Those are the kinds of auctions
nobody said
where you want to,
Napoleon signed a treaty on it or anything. It's just this piece of furniture.
I know.
those are the kinds of auctions where you want to keep your hand down, though.
Absolutely. Right? You don't want to scratch your ear, or you don't do any of that.
Well, I think Mr. Steve here is getting frustrated. It's probably about, I don't know what
he's making good comments in the chat section.
Yeah, I think he's doing the good comments, and I think it's really been good that he's been able to just whip up a book, and like I've got one for you here. Just looking at American Christmas children's toys.
Dankeschön. Is that a new detective series?
Do any of these ring a bell for Rob here? American Clockwork Toys?
As a matter of fact, I'm having dinner with somebody next week into that, and actually they have created automata. They actually build automata, and that's just wonderful stuff. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
You have this probably?
No, I don't have that.
Yeah,
I have very few books about clockwork toys.
This is the world of antique toys.
Oh, and Stephen wants to know where you got that book.
Me?
That last one. Yes.
Probably beat some kid for it.
I think you must have gotten it from him.
Did I get it from you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There it is. I use these things.
Yeah. So, Thorne, where did you get that book?
Probably from some guy in Miami named Steve. I thought I gave some kid for it, but now I remember it was from Steve.
So, see, even when he's silent, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
That's funny.
But that's Miami. He corrects you. That's Miami Beach, sir.
Oh, okay. But
yeah, he doesn't want to be caught dead from being from Miami.
No, that's it's funny.
There is a major difference
my
there.
Specialty, so I'm not. I do some toy stuff, but not mostly children's books, and it's really become an aside. But I'm still very interested in it because children's stuff is interesting, and I before I got really interested in books, Rob was speaking a bit about the fantastic art, the craftsman, the art. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Caldecott and the other awards. I have the books and the artwork and the literature that is in there, from Dr. Seuss to anybody. There's hundreds of these guys. And it's a lot of it is truly of adult quality. It's not just for kids. It's beautiful for us to look at.
Absolutely. If you're even thinking that it's not, just go to some of these galleries that exhibit the works of these folks and see what the prices are like. The last Dr. Seuss I saw that was available to be purchased was in the thousands. It was like. I've forgotten how many thousands it was, but it was not inexpensive, even though it was just a children's book illustration. I bid constantly on, in Heritage, I bid constantly on paintings that were done for either comic book covers or soft covers, little, what we used to refer to as pocket books, A lot of that material is on the market now, and it's very expensive, and it gets more expensive every year. I remember one time I wanted to get a color study that I think is J.C. Leyendecker. Are you familiar with his work?
No, I'm afraid
He did a lot of Saturday Evening Post covers. Not as many as Rockwell, but a few. And one of his color studies came on the market, and it wasn't a finished painting. It was just something he had done, roughed up in color to give him an idea how he was going to do the final painting. And that thing went for like $7,000, you know, and that was just a rough.
I have just seen that I had that lady that's coming for that Civil War illustration. I saw her in my security cameras. So
okay, Thorne, it goes to you to close out the show. Just do the last few lines and we're done.
Oh, okay, then that's good. Then just give me half a second here. Okay, we're closing out the show. Well, that's all the time we have today. Join us again.
Can you hear me?
On, I guess it'll be next Saturday for the Rare Book Cafe at 2:30 in the afternoon, the same as we did this afternoon.
And also next Wednesday at 3:30.
Oops. And it's on Blab.i.im. That's Blab.i.im. And
Blab.im.
I.m. And we will be, Stephen will be hosting that next Wednesday at 3:30 in the afternoon. And then we will all be back next Saturday at 2:30. And the Rare Book Cafe is brought to us, to everybody, by the Florida Antiquarian Books Fair, which this year I think is pretty fantastic. It's 35 years, this March 2016. The book fair, the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair, has more than 100 book dealers all over the country, which I'm one. I know Rob is, Steve is. There's a lot more than just what's here, obviously. For book lovers, it's paradise. And it says here that I'm Thorne Donnelley, filling in for Stephen, the bookman Eisenstein, who we will see you again. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands to yourself, your nose in a book, or whatever clothing you want to use. And that's what I chose to use.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you very much. Bye. I got to go buy a book.
Okay, and you have to push the button to stop recording, Stephen.
Okay.